What's going on? It's Coach Jeff here. I hope you're having a wonderful day. And if you've made it this far, it's because you're curious as to why your calorie deficit isn't working anymore and what to do about it. So let's get into the dang thing here. So first off, why your calorie deficit has stopped working. So tell me if this sounds familiar. You white-knuckled your diet all week, you've skipped out on pizza, you've hit the gym, and you've tracked every bite, sip, and little snack, and still the scale looks at you and laughs in your face like, haha, bitch, nice fucking try. And then in your head you start thinking, what the hot shit is going on here? Is this my genetic peak? Am I broken? Is something going on with my metabolism? Am I missing something? Maybe there's nothing I can do about this. But in reality, your cheeky little freak of a body just switched into low power mode and started burning less calories without telling you. So fat loss is just simple math, but our body makes it a lot more complicated because it wants to be fat and lazy. The recipe for fat loss is actually quite simple. Eat less than you burn. But because your body's a little bit of a brat, the second your calories drop, it starts saving energy from anywhere it can. And that's why you're doing everything right, but nothing's changing. It's not laziness, it's not bad genetics, it's not a broken metabolism, and it's often not even your hormones like insulin. It's adaptation. Adaptation is your body's sneaky defense. It's what your body does to run on less energy when you cut calories. And it does this in a few ways. Your NEAT, or non-exercise activity thermogenesis, drops. Did you notice that you don't bounce your leg under the desk anymore? Or that pen you used to click in your meeting now just sits in your hand the entire time? Even things like walking across the office feels like a chore. You're not as eager to go for a walk after dinner, and you catch yourself craving a midday nap. That is your body pulling back your NEAT, which are the background calories that you burned living life. And when that drops, it silently erases hundreds of calories burned without you even realizing it. The next thing is that your training intensity tanks. I'm sure you've gone to the gym when you're in a fat loss phase and everything feels way fucking heavier than it usually does. Your reps stall earlier, that intensity and fire you used to have is just gone, and your pumps ghost you faster than your last match on Hinge. And now because you're weak and flat, you're wondering if going to the gym is even worth all this effort at all. That's your sneaky little fuck of a body trimming calories by decreasing the intensity of your workouts. This decrease in intensity means you're not working as hard or lifting as much, which then translates into a reduction of calories across the workout. And it's the same for cardio. Have you ever tried getting on the stepper at level 10 for 30 minutes when you're fed versus when you're really, really hungry and in a calorie deficit? Good fucking luck burning the same amount of calories in that time. But when you do have calories, you're doing speed intervals, double steps, and those fucking little kickbacks that you see those big booty bitches do on Instagram. The next way that your body cuts calories is the muscle loss tragedy. And this one cuts so fucking deep. Nothing's worse than grinding to put on muscle over the course of a few months, pounding the weights, eating like it's your second fucking job, drowning in protein shakes just to hopefully pack on a couple solid pounds of muscle. But drop calories and all of a sudden your workouts feel harder than they ever fucking have. Your lifts tank, your intensity falls off, and because of that, you're no longer sending the signal to your body that that muscle tissue you once had needs to be there for your survival. Muscle is metabolically expensive, which means it consumes calories just to exist on your body. So if you're in a caloric deficit and you're not signaling to your body that that muscle needs to be there for survival, it gladly gets rid of it. Then you look into the mirror and you're pissed because you're smaller but not leaner. And the worst part about this is because you've lost that muscle tissue, now you burn less calories 24/7, which is another way of saying you shrank your metabolism. Now, I have several examples of people that have come into my program after trying every single thing under the sun, but still not being able to retain their muscle tissue and get that lean toned look. Abel's a really good example of this. He would get really bulked up trying to pack on muscle tissue, and then as soon as he would try and lean down, he would lose all of it and get really skinny. But then he joined my program and I showed him how to eat, how to train properly, and the intensity that's required in order to retain that muscle tissue. And this was the result after only a few months' time. Allie is another prime example of this. She used to starve herself, cut carbs, and do endless amounts of cardio on the Stairmaster. And now, 9 months later, she looks like this because she understands how to eat to fuel her body, how to train with the proper intensity, and not have to do barely any cardio at all to look this good. We also have my client Bryce here, who was scared to eat food and didn't want to lift weights because she didn't want to look bulky. And now 6 months into our program, she's not only lifting heavy, but she's eating well over 2,000 calories, isn't afraid of food anymore, and finally has that toned look she's always wanted. And Steve is another great example of this. He owns 2 businesses and travels every 2 to 3 weeks. He needed to figure out what the hell he was doing wrong because keto and fasting and all of the different modalities he was doing nothing for him. And he wanted to look good. And this is him only 4 months into our program. He's only training 3 times a week. He doesn't do any cardio and he's eating over 3,000 calories a day. The next thing is that protein and TEF, otherwise known as the thermic effect of food, vanishes. Unless you're specifically and actively tracking your protein, dropping calories almost always means dropping protein as well. But what's important to know about protein is that about 30% of the calories that it holds are burned during processing. So if you're not paying attention and you cut 500 calories from your daily intake, you can assume that 30, 40, 50 grams of protein are going to be taken away from that. Now that may not feel like much in the moment, but stacked over the day means hundreds of calories you would otherwise be burning. So when protein quietly drops, not only are you losing the foundations and building blocks of muscle tissue and repair, but you're also burning fewer calories just by eating. And then we have the maintenance creep. So picture this, you start off your maintenance at about 2,200 calories, but you want to lose some fat, so you drop down to 1,700 calories a day and think, perfect, this is a 500 calorie deficit. But then your body quietly adapts. Your NEAT drops by a couple hundred, your training intensity slips another few hundred, your TEF shrinks, and muscle loss chips away at your baseline burn. And now that 1,700 is no longer a deficit and your progress stalls. So it's not that the math stopped working, it's just that your body adapted to its conditions. So now what the hell do we do about it? First, what we need to make sure we do is keep protein high and keep training hard. I personally recommend about 1 to 1.2 grams of protein per pound of body weight, and whatever's left split between carbs and fats in whichever way suits you best. And then you gotta keep training as hard as you possibly can. You need to really push to try and at least match your lifts from when you were eating a lot of food, as this gives your body the signal that it needs that muscle needs to be there to survive. Next is to lock in your non-exercise activity thermogenesis, or your NEAT. Set a daily step goal of about 8 to 12,000 steps a day and get very consistent with hitting it. And if you notice that you're not losing weight at say 8K steps a day, bump that up to 10K steps for a few weeks and see what happens. Make sure to get this done every day, because NEAT is your silent calorie burn. Next, you need to recalculate your maintenance calories, and you can do this by tracking your weekly averages and body weight. And if you've maintained for 2 weeks with consistent intake and output of calories and energy, you can assume that your deficit has closed and you need to reduce your calories by 1 to 200 per day. So to find if you're at maintenance calories, you want to track your weekly weight averages. And if you've maintained for 2 weeks, you can assume that your calorie deficit is closed. So from here, we can either add about 2,000 steps per day, or we can decrease calories by 1 to 200. But just make sure to only adjust one lever at a time and not both. So I hope that you now understand how this all works and that you're not in fact broken. Your body's just a sneaky little fuck and it slows things down in the background when you're in a deficit. So keep protein high, keep steps consistent, train for strength, adjust one lever at a time, and that's how you beat the stall and continue to get lean. And of course, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out and ask. You can hit me up on IG or Facebook, and I hope you have a great day.